imagine now how this looks. You're going to like this because I'm going to break it down to you. I'm going to give it to you right now in this video, and then we're going to back it up, and we're going to look at all the components of it. All right. Here's you. Remember, there are two goddesses that live inside of you. You are pure awareness, which means you're an empty, blank page. However, you allegedly have taken a fashion form. Now, that is the man that was born in ignorance of the Father, okay? You went and landed in a dry dock, okay? You landed in a dry dock, okay, in a dead vessel, cargo, shipping war, all this stuff. That's what your physical reality is, okay? And your physical reality is right here. Boom, there you are. You're born into a world, imagine this, where you live under 800 million statutes. You live under 800 million different statutes, okay? And you're considered a vessel in dry dock, dead cargo, with your birth certificate, all right, that symbolizes your official entry as a corporate vessel. So out of this consciousness, this is where all this consciousness contains all of these conditions, what they call states. You have a state of being. You're in a state. You move from state to state, okay? You move from state to state as a vibrational resonant frequency. It is the proof that you are the deity, that you are God, is agitation and rest. You see, in your pure awareness, you are at rest in the fullness or the completeness of the Father, which is your imagination. Remember, you're created in the image and likeness of God. That's imagination. Image, imagination. Likeness is spirit, not material. So these conditions of state, these are conditions of state, and isn't it interesting that you are given over to the state with that birth certificate? See, that's the fallen condition. That's the material twinning aspect of reality. It's the shadow of truth. So you're living in the shadows. Like the psalmist said, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. See, that is what the psalmist is speaking about. When you are born in physical form, all of these conditions arise. Okay, you have adults, okay? These are adulterated fools. Think about it. The word adult means adulterated. So when you become an adult, it means you're a fool. Why are you a fool? Because all of your wealth is already stored up in this world. You've stored all your wealth up in the knowledge of Lucifer, the false god. All of the knowledge of this world is alien and foreign to the actual truth of being. You see, so the more you acquire, the more you accumulate it. That's why the rich man can't get to heaven. See, the rich man has all of his knowledge, all of his treasures are in this world. What are those treasures? Well, the rich man thinks that it's his intellect, okay, his earthly intellect. He went to a college. He went to a college to get the highest level of learning. And isn't it interesting that you can take all these people on Wall Street, some of the most educated people on the planet, through all their deep indoctrination of college learning, and you can compare them with monkeys, and the monkeys will perform just as well as they do in picking stocks. It's all a scam. Everything in the world of form is a scam. It is error. It is the terror that swept the earth in the story of Job. It is error itself. Every condition of material identification that you make in the state, being as Adam, the fallen man, under Romans 8, when you are the Romans 8 living under the law of sin and death. This is the law of sin and death, or I should say the 800 million laws of sin and death, growing at about a rate of 2,000 a day. Do you really think God put a burden on his man to live in a world of such corruption, of such the burden to carry? Do you believe that God created you to exist in this realm? But yet you go out and you struggle to make ends meet in this realm. You've got your intellect, you've got your friends, your network, you've got your training, okay? You've done some training, okay? And you've got all of these conditions of men, okay? The knowledge of men. Mockery to God. It's all mockery to God. Do you know why it's mockery to God? Because it is the 666. All of these conditions have their roots in a foreign form of thought that was created out of fear itself, okay? Fear or terror. You see, the world of error is also the word terror, okay? The T is a carpenter's box, and a carpenter's box is what they call being normal. Normal means a carpenter's box. And so you're in a box, and that's error, and the laws of style, the laws of grammar state that anything in a box is not there. So everything is in plain sight. We're the most educated on this planet. They know the truth, and yet they can't find the truth because they are so bound in the dream by Satan. They are so bound by Satan. Satan is the god of this world. And I'm talking about the world of form. I'm talking about the who, what, when, where, why, and how. When you took thought for your life, you fell from grace. When you created another god in terms of the belief in two powers, when you believed in two powers in your heart, where the issues of life come from, you believed in good and you believed in evil. The minute you decided to believe in evil, this whole world erected itself around you. All of it. Now, quantum physics says it's not even there. Quantum physics tells us that what you see is 99.9999997% empty space. You have quantum fluctuations of energy and information in a seamless void of empty space. This is what your world looks like under a microscope to some degree. And if you really, in fact, took the matter, the actual matter itself, and removed the empty space, you could picture three people in a room. Let's say you walk into a room and there are three human beings in a room. What you see with your human eyes in that material world that has erected itself around you. What you see with your human eyes, you see three people. Now, if you take right here, the space, if you take the space out of that picture, those three human beings would fit on the tip of a pin. This is what you would call like a pin, like a needle that you would use, a tiny needle. The matter on those three human beings would fit on the tip of the pin. In fact, the entire waxy ball that you allegedly walk on, or the flat plane, whatever you believe in, your flat earth or your round ball, it's all a superstition of materialism, by the way. Whatever you believe you live in, that would fit as the size of a softball if it were just held to its material form. So how can you, allegedly 5'3", 4, 5, 6, 7, 6'5", whatever you think you are, all of your earthly knowledge tells you have a height, you have space, you have time, you have 4 or 5 dimensions, whatever you're living in. How are you 6'5" or 5'10" or whatever you are when the entire world itself of matter is the size of a softball? What? You're on a softball and you're bigger than all of it? That's what it really looks like. See, the idea here is that you're walking by human sight, and human sight knows nothing of the Father. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you can apply this knowledge. Now, you are born here on this planet of sin. You came here into this Babylonian debt slave system. You are under a curse. Okay? You are under a curse, if you haven't noticed. It's the law of sin and death. Read Romans 8. And it says right there, the law of life has set me free from the law of sin and death. The ancient Gnostic Gospels talk about you are here to repent, which means to turn back to the Father. The story of the prodigal son clearly articulates the journey. You come into this world and you become a slave, and the debt that you carry is heavy. It is a burden that you can't bear. So you're here to repent. That means to turn back to the Father. Turn back to the Father. Now, here is what's going on. You've seen, okay, if you haven't seen this, you have to go to my website. You have to go to MatthewDavidHurtado.com, watch the idisrupt.world. You need to know the truth, okay? Here's the idea. You're looking out here, okay, to a world of fashion form through an adulterated version of yourself, okay? See, this version of yourself isn't even real, let alone what you're projecting outside. You're seeing the terror in the night, okay? Now, it has one job to do, one job. Satan has one trick he must do in order to get you to fall. There's one thing. It all stems from a belief in two powers. Two powers. Once you believe in good and evil, you are under the spell of Delilah. Okay, now you are under a spell of Delilah. See, the Bible is your story. See, this world of terror arises out of being in a state of Adam under a law of good and evil, basically, which means sin and death. You're under the law of sin and death. You're in a state of Adam. See, this state, now you know energy moves. And energy is always in motion, and you can't destroy it. It simply moves in and out of states, okay? States of being. That's why circumstances don't matter. Only state of being matters. So this world of terror has one job. You know what that job is? It's to break your focus. The only reason men fail is broken focus. It needs to break your focus from your kingdom of good, which you were born with. You were born, let me show you how you were born, and let me show you how you got robbed. You were robbed, that's what I'm telling you. So you were born, okay, and you had been born with an imagination, okay? Now your imagination, okay, you were quickly told that it simply isn't that important in this world, and you need to give it up. You need to surrender that. You need to surrender all of your goods, okay? And the word for good is also God. So you need to surrender the God, the real God, for the false God. See? Because some adulterated person, some empty-headed fool, okay, who technically isn't even there. See, this is the dream of the night. See, pay attention to me. The people you see out there in physical form around you are not there. The world is an empty carcass. Pay attention. Wake up. Arise. The people and the circumstances that come out of physicality don't exist because physicality has not an ounce of life or intelligence in it. God is in spirit, eternal, and never for 1 second becomes that fictionalized version of time, space, physicality. That is the dream, the terror that swept the earth. So, you, the child of God, by the adulterated indoctrination of looking outside of yourself for all of these answers, you become born of the father of lies, the 666. Because they teach you how to go who, what, when, where, why, and how over everything. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. So here you are, and they teach you how to create time and live on a linear time track. Boom, boom. See all these resistors in an electrical circuit? They're moving through states, okay? All of those resistances, every time you take human thought, that's the equivalent to adding more unconsciousness. You become more and more unconscious. You become deeply indebted to that world. That's the story of the prodigal son. You went out and squandered your wealth. Here you are, at home in your imagination of spirit with God, and you went out into the world and you squandered your wealth. You gave up your imagination for human reasoning. And the word reason, parse syntax, means ria, which means guilty mind, and son is the descendant of. It's the descendant of the guilty mind. It is the father of lies himself, beguiling you by breaking your focus, by getting you to focus outside of you on a world that never existed. And that world is mesmerizing you and beguiling you in the middle place, which is your mind, where you are bound by Satan. That world is a dead carcass. It's not there. It's not there. Your imagination is your real life. That world of form never was created by God. It has no authority. It was created because of God, but God uses all things for his purposes, and that is your schoolmaster in order that you shall repent. And why does God want you to repent? Because the steps that you took when you believed in two powers, you believed in good and evil, is you feared, you became confused, you forgot who you were. You identified with Satan's child, the version of formality, fiction. And then you developed lack of trust, okay? Now, see, lack of trust means you broke an agreement with God. A trust is a performance agreement, contract. You have a contract with God. You broke it because you broke trust. Then you became double-minded. Double-minded means that there now are competing minds, and someone's always out to steal your lunch. You live in a terror state where you believe that everything is subject to the whims of mortals. Like all of these minds are competing with each other, trying to get one over on each other. These are the lies of Satan's child, the men of Lucifer. They're not your kingdom. There's nothing out there for you. It's a dead carcass. See, then you are divided, okay? And the symbol is the division symbol, because symbols have meaning. See, you were in the imagination of spirit right here, okay, on top of the ledger. You see that? You were up above. That's why people on the earth always look up to the heavens. They look up to the sky. It's symbolic. You're looking up to where you believe God is. God is inside of you. Empty-headed fools look up to the heavens. God is inside of you. See, you are here with God. You took a fall. You became less than. Okay? You became less than God. Therefore, you became adulterated. You became fallen in your 666 condition of who, what, when, where, why, and how, reasoning your way through life by tinkering around all of the data from a corrupted seed. You see, if the seed is corrupt, the entire operating system is corrupt. And so your software in your mind, which is like a computer, is built on a corrupted seed. And that corrupted seed always creates a world out there of fashion form. And that world of fashion form is alien and foreign to God. That is Lucifer's pulpit. So, it doesn't matter how fast your operating system is. It doesn't matter how much data you can hold in this computer, because it's all birthed of a corrupted seed. That's why people go to medical school for a decade and they can't solve any problems. They can't heal anything. It doesn't matter how much science they have to back it up. It's built on a corrupted seed because you never had a physical life. So everything that reinforces more and more and more physical is looking in the wrong direction. That means you are being beguiled by Satan. You are fallen. Now, let's go out here. We're going to turn back. We're going to use our imagination. Remember in the beginning I said, not my problem. You take care of it, God. This world out there is not my problem. It's God's battle. It's not mine. See the world out there? I used to look outside of me. Cast it down. Cast it down. You got a problem in your business, people aren't buying your products? That's because those people are not God's people. You're expecting mortals to support you, and mortals are not God's people. Those are Lucifer's children. God's people live inside the imagination of spirit. God's people are spiritual. God's people are not flesh and bones. Those people are subject to the law of sin and death. See, when you look to the world out there to do something that God's already done for you, you're blind. You're drunk. You're captured in your five senses. Not mine, but thine will be done. Not my will, but thine will be done. Oh, I just need these people to join my network marketing company. If they'll just join my company, I could make some money, but they don't want to. They're so ignorant. They're so stupid. They don't see the vision. Stop it. Those people aren't even there. You're being beguiled by Satan to look outside of you, imagining that there are something outside of you. There's nothing outside of you. You're it. This is a journey between you and you. You are in the image and likeness of God, so step into your imagination and start to put the people of God in your world. Those people love you. They love your message. They love your product, and they're buying your products. They are joining your company. They are being present with you. They are the love of your life. Now, there is no time. They are already there now. And you say, oh, but it's not true. I look outside of myself and I don't have the money and nobody wants to be in my business and buy my products. You empty-headed fool. You look outside of yourself to a world that isn't there, and then you push against it, which means you reinforce the very thing you are trying to escape. You have given your power away to Lucifer. Take your power back. Step into your imagination, right here. Begin at once to put everything you desire in your now space, where God is. God is omnipresent, which means God is now present. God is omnipotent, which means God is the only power. That means good is the only reality. Only the good is true. Omnipotent means God is the only power, the only presence, the only mind. There is no other. But you did it to yourself. You looked outside of yourself. You identified in fashion form. You put yourself under the law of sin and death. And then you expected somebody out there to do anything other than lie and trick and deceive you. But you see, everyone out there belongs to Lucifer, because the world out there is Lucifer. So I step into my imagination and I put the spiritual reality. You see, I'm replicating the truth. There's something that I see out there that I am coveting. You should not covet. Instead of coveting, I engender. I bring it in my imagination, and I begin to walk as if I have it at once, feeling it in my heart in this moment, because out of the heart come the issues of life. You see, right here you have your knowledge capacitor. What is your knowledge? Do you know that you come from the Father, that you can engender any good thing? All things are yours because you have the inheritance of the kingdom already. You are an equal to Jesus at the throne. Well then, if you have that knowledge, then all you have to do is drive that knowledge into your heart, which means into feeling as if you already had it now. So, if you already had all these people joining your business and they were buying your products and everything was going well, what would you feel like? Well, you'd feel peace, wouldn't you? You'd come back into contract with God, that peace contract with God. See, everything is seeking its full potential. Everything in the world that you truly live in. It's all energy and information. So your full potential, if you were already there now and you already had the desires of your heart, what is the emotional state? State. Everything goes from state to state to state. See, the emotional state that you occupy determines what comes into this quantum field right here that comes from the electromagnetic of your heart. See, the heart creates the electromagnetic. It draws in the particle wave duality, and it starts to put those motes of dust dancing in a beam of light around you so that this human sight becomes form. Now, again, if you become identified with the new form, you are still beguiled. You are in the world, but you are not of it. So even though you may change the form around you by changing what's in your heart and using your imagination, The minute you become bound again by the world outside of you, given over your estate, and you've handed over your power to Lucifer again. Doesn't matter what so-called level you're at, you need to maintain state of being from the Father, from the fullness, from the completeness. Now, if you are from the fullness, it means that there is a void of incompleteness. It means that there is no such thing as lack or want or need. I have no lack, no want, no need. So what is the equivalent of having no lack, no want, no need in your emotional space? Because that is the state you must occupy right now. You must surrender to that state, and you must rest in that state. And so what will happen is from that position of coming from the Father, from that state, is you literally plant a new quality of seed into your now space reality. And based on the laws of the seed, which govern all of the kingdom, the seed governs the kingdom, that seed creates of its own kind. So if you have the feeling of prosperity, you get the symbol of prosperity, but you see that symbol is the serpent. And so you don't worship the symbol, you worship what gave you all good things, God, in spirit, your imagination. You see, at my website, that's why I teach the 3-2-1 prosperity formula. If you don't tithe, you don't understand tithing, learn about it. I've seen more lives change by following spiritual principles than any of those hucksters on the internet that you see outside of you that are all selling things to you. Most of them are storing up all of their treasures on earth. And if you believe you can follow their roadmap, storing up all of your treasures on earth, then you are also subject to the law of sin and death. And that is a very hard burden to carry. And see, trying to carry that burden does not work. Not my problem. Not my problem. In other words, you can't get there from there. If you have a problem and you're trying to get to a solution, you've already identified with form. You're already in a less than position. You're already coming from lack. So any action you take from lack will produce more lack and will produce more suffering for you and others. So we want to engender, we want to cast down all of those things. You have a health condition in your body? Well, that's not my problem. You don't have a body. That body doesn't belong to you. That body is Lucifer's. Anything you identify as spiritual is yours, and anything that is material belongs to Lucifer. Now, Romans 8:10, if Christ be in me, the body is dead because of sin, but the spirit is life because of righteousness. You see, the body belongs to the world of the dead. Lucifer, Satan, that's the world of the dead. Fiction, form. There's no intelligence, there's no life, there's no authority in that. Now, if I know that I'm spiritual, eternal, in the imagination of God, God is dreaming me into existence, and therefore all of the attributes and qualities of God make up the very fabric of my being, which are impervious to any penetration of claim of matter, then I know that I live in a protective bubble of spirit, and I can say, not my problem. And once I drop fear and I drop the belief in a disease, then there is no disease. And that's the journey. That's the journey out of the problem state into the solution state. You don't go from problem to solution. You can't get there from there. You can't start from a corrupted position and get to a factual position. You have to start from perfection and maintain perfection. You have a problem in your business because your customers aren't buying, they don't like your ideas. Well, those customers are not your customers. You can't control what men on the earth do. That belongs to someone else. It doesn't belong to you. They're going to trick you. They're going to lie to you. Every man is a liar, but every word out of the mouth of God is true. Do you understand what I'm saying? If every man is a liar, then how are you trying to build a business in a world full of liars? You see, those people are not the real children of God. The real children of God are in the imagination of spirit. So you put the real children of God now in that position, and you start to service those children, knowing that those are the children that are buying your products. Those are the children that are coming to your seminars. Those are the children that are joining your company. Those are the children that are supporting you. And you say, well, that's crazy. I'm just going to imagine those people, and I'm just going to pretend like it's all happening. And I say, you're already pretending that something's happening that never happened because God never existed in a physical condition. You're already drunk. I'm telling you to be undrunk, unadulterated. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that your imagination creates reality, and that if you step into the kingdom, which is your imagination, and you engender, which means to put it in your heart as if you already have it, and then you come from that state, every seed you plant from that state produces a harvest of its own kind. It has to. That is a law. That is God's law. God has very simple laws. God is not bound by any material condition, and God has no problem supplying for his child from his inheritance. You see, it's not your wealth. It is God's wealth, and it's not your problem.
Hello, I'm Julie with Allow Ministries on behalf of Matthew David Hurtado. Are you ready to end self-sabotage, procrastination, and distraction? Clarity, certainty, and a proven plan of action is what it takes to get anything you want in life. Training is the answer. Matthew David Hurtado's Spiritual Millionaire Workshop is the one-step solution that finally puts you in control of your destiny. What Matthew discovered about building a 7-figure business and perfect well-being when he was bedridden and bankrupt with Lyme disease is that mentorship is success without the wait. It works. At allowuniversity.com, you'll discover how to walk in victory. Learn how to prosper in every area with unstoppable daily habits and a step-by-step training to build your dream business immediately following the event, a success training for a lifetime of achievement. Walk in financial increase, living a life you love. Go to allowuniversity.com and say yes to your destiny.